Hello, welcome to Dorks. I'm Zoe and I'm here with Sam.
Hello.
And what are we doing today, Sam?
We are helping you decide which clarinet to spend your money on. We're looking at 5 of the best upgrade clarinets under £2,000, which is?
$2,500, roughly.
Yeah, roughly, at time of print. Don't quote us on that. But we're looking at brands such as Yamaha, Backun, Buffet, Uebel, and
Selmer.
Those wonderful wizards in Montleville, France, Selmer, absolutely. We're looking at their premium clarinets at that price point, okay, and it's a really busy price point. So who have we got in to help us do that though?
We've got in the highly experienced clarinetist, Nicholas Carpenter, who will be giving us a demo of each clarinet, and we'll be talking about the differences between each one. And what else? What do they get with them? That's what you're going to be going
into.
into.
What do they get? They get all the right notes.
Everything.
I put them in individually when you buy it. No, they get a very nice outfit.
Yeah.
But I'll be giving my opinions on those outfits, and I'll be showing you the cases, the mouthpieces, all that sort of garb that comes with it. So, without any further ado, let's get into it.
Nick Carpenter, everybody. Welcome to our studio.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming here to discuss. It's a very exciting time for any student, isn't it, when they're upgrading for the first time to probably a wooden clarinet for the first time.
Yes. Oh, I remember it well.
Yes.
I remember going from my, I can't remember what it was now, Bruce Hawk's little clarinet to an Emperor.
Oh,
Bruce
sounds
Hawk's
good.
Emperor clarinet, my first wooden clarinet, and I absolutely loved it.
Well, Nick is going to play through 2 pieces on each of our 5, so we're going to get a really good comparison going on. We're going to cut to Sam, who's going to give us the tech spec, the lowdown for each of the models. But right there, you've got a Buffet.
Yes.
Do you want to give it a go?
Buffet E13, okay.
This is the
and
first
I'm
one.
going to play a couple of pieces, both from the Finzi Bagatelles,
Okay.
and most people should know these. And then the carol. Just for those who know the music will know that the second, the carol, actually isn't written like that. I cut between the 2 verses quickly so you could hear exact comparison between the different octaves, or the different registers, I should say, to see how they both sound.
Okay, let's talk a little bit of tech spec with the Buffet E13. Now, the first thing I would say about this is it's the best-selling upgrade clarinet model anywhere for the last 30 years. I don't just mean here at Dorks, I mean globally. Buffet sell tons and tons and tons of these all around the world. But back in 2015, they had a bit of a model refresh, and they changed a few little things which I'm just going to explain to you, and then we'll have a look at the cases and what it comes with. So in 2015, they changed to white leather pads throughout, and that ensures durability, longevity of your pads. They're a bit more water resistant, and so that's really important, obviously, when a pad covers the hole, that the integrity of the pad is retained over a number of years, and you're going to have more chance of that with white leather, potentially over bladder skin, which is the other cheaper type of pad variant. That's one thing. The second thing they did was change the bell. Now, it wouldn't make that much of a difference, you would think, but actually with the lower register notes and when you go over the break, it does make a little difference to how the voicing is of the low E, F, or the BC if you're over the break. This is actually the bell on the RC professional model, and it's exactly the same bell, and it's now here on this E13 intermediate one as well. Adjustable thumb rest, like we'll find on all of the models we're going to talk about, and it is pretty comfortable. Often buffets sit a little bit low, but you have got the ability to move that up as well. Now, one final thing I'm going to finish with just about the instrument is if you want to know if it's a new version, 2015 plus onwards, you can see that the E on the model stamping is a little bit bigger. In the old ones, the E was the same as the 13. So just a little geeky bit for you there. But in summary, from a tech point of view, very reliable. It's the first of the buffets which is actually fully made in their Montleville factory in Paris, all of it. And it also has things like the screw-in pillars, which are a lot more, give it a lot more strength, should we say, to the keywork as well. So all manner of cool tech stuff. Let's have a little look though at the case options, because there's a couple of variants there as well. So actually a curious thing about the buffet case situation is that you can buy the E13 in a couple of different case variants. This is sort of the backpack gig bag style one, which is softer and comes with shoulder straps. Okay, and it's a little bit different inside. And then this is the hard case version, which has been around for many, many years. And I'm sure lots of you will have seen players in orchestras and things like this, or other people at school with it, whatever it might be. So two options. There is a difference in price. This hard case version is always a bit more expensive. So if you're looking on our website at the model, do check out both variants to see what the price difference is. It is literally the case that is different, and that is all. Now, in terms of the gear that Buffet give you, they do give you a mouthpiece. It's an unbranded plastic mouthpiece to a Buffet design. It's perfectly okay, but at this level, if you're upgrading, you would probably be looking at an upgrade Van Doren or another Ebonite mouthpiece. So they do throw one in though with a ligature and a cap. And final thing, which I think is quite fun in a little way, they give you a reed, but why is it fun? They don't tell you the strength. It's like Russian roulette, reed Russian roulette, kind of potluck. Stick it on, you might give yourself a hernia, you might make a horrible sound, but hey ho, it's included with it as well. And that, everybody, is our E13 tech spec. Let's get back to Zoe and Nick in the studio to see what Nick thinks about how it plays.
Thank you, Sam. Right, so this is the first of our 5. It's the lowest in cost at £1,500 currently. How did it feel to play?
I enjoyed it very much. I think it's got a big, powerful sound, and yet there was still a warmth to it, which was very nice. In terms of intonation, I've been here at the studio for a little while, and I've spent a little time with each of these 5 instruments and some time with the tuning machine, and the intonation I felt was very stable on the Buffet, very stable indeed.
What are you looking for when you're upgrading?
I suppose the biggest difference is the biggest difference that the student will notice is the weight if you're coming from a plastic instrument, but wooden instruments are, they are significantly heavier. It's obviously it's the material, the wood. It gives that depth of sound, yeah, which you struggle to find with the beginner's plastic instruments. So for me, what I'm looking for is a depth of sound. I'm looking for an instrument that feels comfortable under the hand. I'm looking for an instrument which has what I call a stable scale. Intonation-wise, it's very even. A lot of people love this one. It's a bestseller for us. Yes, yeah. Well, it doesn't surprise me. Yeah. I think at the price point, it's fantastic. I'm looking for which feels comfortable under the fingers. And for me, this feels very comfortable. I know I play Buffet anyway, but a lot of the instruments that I've played feel very comfortable. And this one certainly does feel comfortable. A couple of little things I find: the right hand little finger keys, they're quite there's not a huge gap between there, but with smaller hands maybe that's not a problem at all. I find that. And if I were really kind of being very going into very fine detail, I think that sometimes the response is not quite even. Some notes are slightly more resistant, some are slightly less resistant. It could be that it's a new instrument, yeah, it needs blowing in. It could be that that's the thing you would get used to. It all responds to different things. Yeah. A student would typically play a reed a lower strength than the one I use. That in itself will have a significant effect on the response of the instrument. But basically, I can absolutely see why it's your top-selling instrument at this level, because it blows really well. It makes a great sound. It's well made. It feels comfortable. It's just generally a very good instrument.
Great. Well, thank you. Shall we move on to the next one, the Uebel?
Okay.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Uebel and a little bit of its background and tech spec and the outfit, etc. So this is the classic Uebel. They do a whole range of clarinets, a couple below this and a few above this, but the classic one is the upgrade one in this price point. 2013, this particular model came out, but Uebel generally have been around for many decades. German company, very well regarded. Now the classic has a fairly easy to play kind of feel, that's my opinion, based on the bore shaping. It's aimed at that intermediate player. Technically, there's a nice ringless bell. There's a bit of an argument really about a ringless bell or a ringed bell, and we'll see on the Selmer there's a little something different going on there as well. But the idea is that just lets it resonate freely, etc. Is it a little bit easier to knock and damage? Potentially yes, so it depends a bit who the player is going to be. One little nice thing I like about the Uebel in particular is that it comes with two barrels, a 65 and a 64, and it's the only one of these selection of clarinets that we're looking at that does come with two barrels. Why is that useful? Well, depending on the environment you're playing in, sometimes you do need to adjust the barrel size to give you a little bit more latitude on the intonation and the whole tuning setup. Now, final thing I would say about the Uebels and all of the Uebels is their grenadilla wood is really excellent. They've got great stocks of wood, and this particular one on the classic, the wood is aged for a minimum of 7 years before they make it, and that aging process allows the wood to develop, which will obviously help enhance the sound and usually make it a little bit less likely to crack or have any issues like that. So that's the clarinet. Let's have a look at the actual outfit. And it is a very neat little lightweight case. I really like it. It's very similar to a Protege model, which in fact may be what this is underneath, I'm not quite sure. Inside, it's got, actually, I've left this in because sometimes people ask us why did it come with a piece of paper inside it. This is a special paper that helps keep the silver plate bright and free of any issues whilst it's in a case in transit. You can see there the other barrel, and that sits nicely just inside the case. And finally, it comes with a pretty standard, again, all of these come with nothing great, nothing exciting, and we may talk about that in the video later, but a standard Arthur Uebel mouthpiece, which is fine, a nice leather ligature and cap, which saves you upgrading that. So, all in all, my thoughts about the Uebel from an outfit point of view, really cool little case, solid clarinet, extra barrel also helps as well. But let's see what Nick thinks about it back with Zoe in the studio.
Thanks, Sam. So the Uebel, that has been around since 2013. It's remained very popular. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, lovely instruments. I'm immediately struck by the quality of the wood. I've actually been to the factory, the Uebel factory in Germany, and seen the wood store and see how they mature the wood. Basically, it is 7 years old. It's not forced aged at all.
So they can do that? They can just like speed it along?
I think they can. It is possible to do that, or you just don't age it as long. But Uebel are very strict about aging the wood, and they leave it. They've got the store I saw, and this is only half of the wood store, is kind of the basement or the ground floor of a huge house. It's just across the road from the offices, and it's just kept there. They have these huge pallets of wood, and it's kept there. I think the windows are open, so in the winter it gets very cold down there. In the summer it gets hot. If it's damp, it gets a bit moist, whatever.
Getting everything.
It's really just aging over a course of 7 years, and they are very careful and adamant that that's how they want to do it. And I think it shows. You can sense that in the it shows in the quality of the wood of this instrument. I mean, in the quality of the wood of all of their instruments, actually. But this one is no exception. It's beautiful. It's beautifully made. It feels very comfortable under the hands. It really does. It's got. I spent some time with the tuning machine. It seems to have a really stable scale. If I were to talk about the quality of the tone, I think this, fun enough, it displays slightly its German heritage, which I personally love. It's got the sound is slightly more covered. It's not so bright. I think this would be ideal for kind of solo chamber music work. Yeah, it feels very even in response. There's a hint of resistance there, not quite, but again, that's something you would just instantly get used to. Maybe choose a slightly softer reed.
Okay.
I would need a slightly softer reed than this one if I were to have this instrument. But basically, I find it very comfortable, blows well, and has a lovely sound. As I say, it's not quite such a huge sound, but it's got a very cultured, I think, quality to it, which I find very, very attractive.
So this is currently £1,600 on the market, 2024, around £1,600 that is, not definitely £1,600. So it's a little step up from the buffet, but definitely not as expensive as some of the models we're going to look at.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the next one, the Selmer?
Let's.
All right then, let's have a look at the Selmer Prologue, and I am not going to lie, I'm quite excited about this one. It's my favourite just from a tech and an overview point from this selection of instruments that we've got here. So let's talk about it. The Prologue has been around for many, many years. I actually had a Prologue bought in 1992. I know I don't look old enough, but there you go, that's the truth. And the Prologue then disappeared for a number of years, and it's been revived by Selmer, probably 10 years, 15 years, time flies. And this is the very latest version. And how do you know it's the very latest version? Well, there's this little kind of alpha sign up here underneath where it says Selmer Prologue, and that's how you'll know you're looking at the very latest version. So why am I excited? Well, there's some kind of cool tech things on here, some useful and some just fun. And I quite like this about Selmer, they do kind of kooky things like that. So let's talk about them. First one is there's a little tone hole insert that you can take in or out of the low G, D tone hole here on the right hand. And the point of that is it makes the tone hole a little smaller. The insert just clips over the top of the tone hole. And if you've got an advancing player, maybe a young teenager whose hands are actually still a little bit small and they can't quite reach that, or they occasionally slip off that tone hole, then the insert will make the tone hole smaller, and therefore you've got less chance of the finger not covering it. Interestingly, in France, this is the very first instrument on the Selmer range. So we treat it as an intermediate, but for them, it's kind of like a premium beginner model, because on the continent, a lot of people actually start playing on wooden clarinets. They don't bother with the plastic ones. Now, the other thing here that I'm going to point out, which is kind of fun, but could be a bit of a Marmite thing for people, is these interchangeable rubber rings which go on the bell. So they give you 5 or 6 colours in the bag, so you can take this off and change it. So let me see if I can do that. It's a bit difficult with one hand. It's even more difficult on camera, but there we go, I did it. That is a ring there, and you can get a black one, so it looks traditional, white, red. I'll show you the colours in a second. And obviously underneath that, it's just a ringless bell. But it's a cool thing. It's a way for you to kind of customise your instrument and or stick that on your wrist. Who knows, you could just have all of them on like a bangle and just leave this free. That would work as well. Let's have a look at the back of the clarinet. I'll try and be a little bit more sensible for this bit. Cool little Selmer badge, which I really like. They just embossed that. It's a tiny thing, but I really like it. And if we move up the bottom joint here, we've got this adjustable thumb rest. Now, all of the models we're looking at have adjustable thumb rests, but not quite like this. This one actually adjusts, as well as up and down, it adjusts left and right on this axis here. So depending on the size of your thumb or the size of your hand, you can move this further around, which is quite neat. Again, going back to the idea that sometimes the people playing these are still in that early progression period, younger people with slightly smaller reach. So that's a really cool thing. If we move up even further, they've got this ergonomically shaped register key, Again, it's something I like. They're not the only people who do this. There's a couple of other Yamaha CSG do it on their clarinet and a couple of others. But this is a really neat position. And again, what's nice I like about this is Selmer thinking about the user, the end user, the player. What can we do to help the player, the relevant player at this stage, with any tweaks to the clarinet? So finally, before I get onto the case, the other thing I wanted to point out with Selmer, which is quite neat, is that on the top joint, the tenons have the metal ring, which adds a little bit of strength to the whole outfit and should help prevent cracking as well. That's something, again, that you generally see on professional clarinets, but Selmer have it on the top joint, not on the bottom, but on the top joint here as well. So there you go, that's the Selmer in a nutshell from the actual tech spec point of view. I've gained a bangle, which is an excellent thing. Let's have a look at what comes with the case. By the way, quite a pretty case, typical of the French to make it actually quite pretty, but also quite functional. It's got a nice outside zip pocket here, Selmer logos on it, etc. And the backpack straps on the back, so you can easily transport that around. Again, they're thinking about the end user, which is really good. If we go inside the case, we've got the rest of my bangles, kind of pastel-y gold, silver, blue, dusty pink, I think I would call that, and the classic black ones there as well. The other thing inside the case is a mouthpiece, and quite a nice mouthpiece. It's the Selmer Focus mouthpiece, which is a mouthpiece that they give on this model, but also it's available separately, I believe. Ebonite, nice, plays really well, and this is the best mouthpiece of all the outfits that we're talking with here, albeit you may want to try something for yourself. Finally, there's a little ligature and a cap, cork grease, etc. Now, the final thing I wanted to say about the Selmer and the whole outfit is, along with the Backun, this is the lightest of the instruments on test, both in the instrument itself, which lost 30 grams on the new model, and in the case as well. So if weight is an issue for you, then the Selmer or the Backun might be the way to look. But let's get back to Nick and see what he thinks about it, along with Zoe.
So the Selmer Prologue. I really like that you're playing the same pieces for each instrument, because we can really start to notice the differences. How are they feeling for you?
They are. It is extraordinary, even at this very broadly similar price point, the differences really do come out. There are some design features of this instrument which I think are absolutely fantastic. There's what they call, I think they call it a 3D thumb rest. So not only does it adjust from left to right, it also adjusts up and down.
That sounds futuristic.
It is, and it looks it, but it is fun. I've never seen it before, but it is fantastic. And there's it could be. You could really get that exactly how you want. Likewise, the touch plate on the left-hand thumb is a new design. It feels very comfortable. Would take a little bit of getting used to, but once you're used to it, I think it's great. I love the coloured. The bell protectors, whatever you call them.
Now you can customise those. This model comes with about 5 colours, so you can make it your own.
Yes, you can have silver, black, blue, red, pink.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not for everyone, but
I think I want some of my clarinets.
Yeah.
But having said that, it's a new, feels to me like a kind of, as if Selmer have really thought about trying to improve the ergonomics of the instrument. But having done so, for me, it felt I would take some time to get used to it. It didn't feel instantly comfortable, but actually the more I played it, the more I got used to it. So I think that's a small detail. It's in terms of tone, it's a big sound, a big, powerful, bold sound. I felt with this Selmer,
Is it a sound you enjoyed?
I did enjoy it. We're certainly playing the opening of the prelude from the Bagatelles. I felt this really helped me there. It really supported what I wanted to do. I felt slightly less comfortable playing the carol in the more intimate, reflective quality. It could be that the response from the instrument was not quite as even. We're talking this much, the 99.9%. It was fine, but and there were a couple of notes in terms of intonation which I would need to take time to get used to, or even have little adjustments. There were, and you might be able to hear that in particularly in the carol. But basically, it's
designed very well. They've got some beautiful touches to it.
Yeah, lovely. I mean, lovely woods.
Yeah.
Beautifully made. And as I say, there's a presence about it. There really is. I think they used to make it. They may probably still do, called a présence. But there's a presence about this instrument when you play it. You know, it's really, you can't help but notice it. So yeah.
Well, thank you. We're going to move on.
Okay.
What is it next? It's the Backun Protege.
Okay.
All right then, let's talk Backun Protege. Now, this particular model that we're doing in test is a cocobolo wood, and you can see I'm showing it to you this way because the wood itself is absolutely beautiful. It's got warmer hues and just naturally you can see it's unstained, and that's how Backun supply it. So they are also available in grenadilla wood, if that's more your preference, or cocobolo wood. What's the difference? Well, the grenadilla wood visually, is darker. It looks more black, quote unquote. But grenadilla itself sounds a little different. In my opinion, it has a slightly harder, more direct, more projective sound, shall we say, whereas the cocobolo tends to sound a little softer, a little more mellifluous, and I think that's just due to the density of the wood itself. Now, in terms of spec of this one, we've got cocobolo wood, like I've said. We've got silver-plated keys, but we've also got, which is super bling, we've got some lovely gold pillars, and these are all up the instrument. So you've got this kind of two-tone silver gold effect. Now these pillars, like we mentioned on the Buffet E13, are actually screwed into the body, which adds a little bit of strength to the keywork system and longevity, shall we say. In terms of other tech stuff, and this is true of all the Proteges, not just this one, they have custom black leather pads which Backun put into these models, a really nice adjustable thumb rest like all of these have had, but I think this is probably got the biggest land mass, shall we say, for your thumb to sit under, and it's a really strong mechanism, good screw with the ring there if you're using a sling or something like that. And in terms of actual wood quality, we've talked about the difference, the grenadilla and the cocobolo. Backun do something really interesting. This is the same wood, exactly the same wood as you would find on their £6,000 or £7,000 Lumiere clarinet. So you're getting the same quality of wood on all Backun clarinets. The only thing that really differs is the amount of work that goes on internally and the amount of handwork that goes on in the very top-end professional instruments. So all in all, the Backun, a really nice little outfit, looks fantastic in this spec, in my opinion, but there are more classic looking specs with grenadilla wood and silver plate keys, for example, is obviously the more classic combination. Let's just talk very briefly about the case. So this is the Backun case, and it's very durable, got a nice pocket on the outside, probably a little bit more useful, that pocket, than perhaps the Selmer one, which is a little bit smaller. Now if we go inside, you know, your classic formed molded case inside looks after the clarinet. One thing that is notable with this, no mouthpiece, no ligature, no cap. You don't get any of that with the Protege. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because as we've touched on a few times in this video, at this level, you want to be out buying your own upgrade mouthpiece, which really suits you and how you play. And so for me, it's not really an issue. If they put something in, you'd just be paying a bit more for the whole outfit, and you probably wouldn't use it anyway. So that's the Backun Protege and my thoughts about it. Let's jump back to Nick and Zoe and see what they have to say.
Thanks, Sam. So the Backun Protege, it looks astonishing.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It really is a beautiful instrument, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got unstained, this one is unstained cocobolo wood, but I believe you can have unstained grenadilla wood as well.
There are a few options in
Yes,
this one.
there are, and it's also got the gold posts on here, and they're not just there for show. They actually do serve an acoustic purpose. Gold vibrates; it has a much greater frequency range to vibrate.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So just having those little touches
Yes,
on there.
and it's where the metal touches the wood. I think because gold can vibrate at greater frequency range, it allows the wood to vibrate. That's the theory behind it, and it does have an effect. There's no doubt about it. So it's
How did it play for you?
Very nice. It's a lovely instrument. It took a little while to get used to under the hand.
Okay.
Ergonomically, it felt a little bit different to that which I'm used to. I'm used to buffet, but I got used to it very quickly.
And you can always have adjustments made, can't you? To any instrument you buy.
Exactly. I mean,
down the workshop.
The first thing I would do if this
sort it
was
out for you.
the first thing I would do if this was my instrument, I would just move that key a fraction out of the way. These are tiny adjustments. It takes 5 minutes to do, and it would just then make it feel completely comfortable and set up for me. Yeah. Which is really nice. This is the only instrument at this price point which has the duplicate E flat G sharp key, and it's great. It's fantastic to have. You know, all professional model instruments have that now. So I suppose the sooner you get used to using it, then you can incorporate the use of that into your daily technique. The flip side is true for me. I grew up when I was learning, these keys didn't really exist. So consequently, old dogs, old dogs and new tricks. I can only really play the G sharp. I naturally always go to that side, and I have to really think carefully about using this one because I just don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, so, it's like it's not there.
Exactly. Yeah. So the sooner one gets used to using that, great. Yeah. Because it does get you out of some situations when you need that key.
Well,
so
I
it's
think
great.
They're marketing this for aspiring professionals, and do you think it fits the bill?
I think so. Absolutely, absolutely. This is a really
currently around
beautiful...
£1,800.
So I think that's tremendous value. I really do. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful instrument to play, beautiful to look at, beautifully made, gorgeous wood. And
it doesn't come with a mouthpiece, this one.
Ah, interesting. Well, funny enough, I don't think that's a problem at all. The first upgrade I would always suggest when you're moving from maybe a beginner's plastic clarinet to now your first wooden instrument, I would always say in your budget leave another £100 to choose a mouthpiece. That I would always recommend a Van Doren. I think they Van Doren make fabulous mouth. This isn't a Van Doren, but I think just a standard Van Doren is a fantastic choice, and I would recommend always something like a B40, or if you can stretch a few more pounds, the BD5, which I think are absolutely fantastic mouthpieces. And then that mouthpiece is a professional mouthpiece, and you just when you upgrade your instrument, you take your mouthpiece with you.
It comes with you forever.
Exactly.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to our final clarinet. It is the Yamaha.
Jolly good.
Right then, let's take a look at this wonderful Yamaha CX clarinet. This is the most expensive of the clarinets in test, and it is the first in the custom range of Yamaha clarinets that are fully handmade and hand finished in Japan. So this lives in that custom bracket with all the professional models that go up from there. So in terms of quality, you know, it's the very top end of things. Now let's just talk briefly about the names. CX, why do they come up with these things? All sorts of names, everything has E13 Prologue we've touched on earlier, but CX actually references Selmer, the predecessor instrument, the basic instrument that the clarinet kind of grew from. So that's just a cool little clarinet geek fact for you. In terms of spec on this Yamaha CX, Like all the Yamaha instruments, it's really, really super well made, extremely well made. They use white leather pads now on the CX, a bit like on the Buffet E13, although these are a different variant of pad, and that gives that longevity. And also actually, Yamaha mentioned that it does add potentially a tiny bit of warmth, a little bit more stability to the sound, because the surface of the pad is not resonating when you blow, unlike on a skin pad, which would be resonating at super high frequency. How much difference does that make? Very difficult to quantify. Adjustable thumb rest, like all of these things, and again, it's a nice solid one here on the Yamaha. There's two things that I want to tell you about which are specific to this Yamaha model and came in the recent CX changes just a few years ago. The first one is this EB lever, which has been slightly lengthened, and the position of it has been raised to make it easier for little fingers of all sizes and shapes and variations to make it to that EB lever. The other thing they've changed is the position and the arc, basically, and the length of the C sharp, G sharp key here. They've lengthened that as well, again, to try and make it easier for people to get to. I'm not sure about this C sharp, G sharp position for me. My finger wants to be a little further down, but that's just my setup. But the EB definitely feels super comfortable. So if you're trying clarinets and you're trying the CX, that's just one little area to concentrate on, see if it feels comfortable for you. Let's get into the case finally, and then we'll jump back to Zoe and Nick to talk about how it plays. Super professional looking outfit. Comes with a very nice outer cover, and oh my goodness, that is soft and fluffy. That's actually really, really nice. Inside we've got the hard case. Slim, super slim, isn't it? That's neat. So you don't have to carry it in the outer case if you don't want to. If you're slipping it in a backpack, something like that, if you're on a bike, whatever it might be. Don't know why you'd have to be on a bike to have a backpack, but you never know. Inside, again, just shaped thing, usual stuff, but it does come with an ebonite mouthpiece. This is the Yamaha custom 4cm ebonite mouthpiece. Plays pretty nice, it's pretty close, and as we've alluded to a number of times now, it may suit you, it may not, so in general terms we suggest you go and sort out your own upgrade mouthpiece. But that's all the gear and the tech stuff on the Yamaha CX, and that's it from me. But let's jump back to Zoe and Nick and see what he has to say about this Yamaha CX clarinet.
So the Yamaha, you seem like you were having a lot of fun playing that.
Yeah, it is. It's really is a super instrument, this one. Again, beautiful, beautiful wood, manufactured absolutely perfectly. Really feels
Made
so
in Japan.
well. Yes, yeah. Yes, and you know they're renowned for the quality of their craftsmanship, and their clarinets are no exception.
I think Yamaha, you always feel like you're in a safe pair of hands,
yeah,
right?
So,
anyway, it's a brand everyone's heard of.
Yeah.
And
I certainly at the very beginner level, I think I would 9 times out of 10 recommend a Yamaha, because I just think they'll always be well put together.
Yeah.
Always be well. And this, and then obviously coming up to this level, there's nothing changes. It's a beautifully made instrument, beautiful wood. It just feels incredibly comfortable. I feel completely at home on this instrument. And then the way it responds, it's so even. And there's I don't know whether you could hear, but there's a ring to it, a warmth and a depth of quality to the sound. Intonation is excellent, and just the evenness, one note to the next note. Yeah, I think it's but then it's the most expensive instrument.
it is the most expensive, but is it currently around 2,000?
Yeah.
But maybe it could take you on further than the other.
I don't know
clarinets could.
I mean, they're all good, but I would say this is now verging into kind of professional instrument territory.
Wow.
Okay. Whereas £500 less, maybe the Buffet is still marketed as an intermediate instrument.
Yeah.
For me, this one was instantly. I played. I thought, okay, now this is an instrument I could be very comfortable playing with.
And you said to me that you could see someone going through the whole of music college with that.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen students using
Yeah.
it. I mean, I've taught at Guildhall, and I teach at the Royal Welsh Conservatoire, and I've had students using the Yamaha CX, custom CXs, going through music college, and absolutely no issues whatsoever. And it's, it's, as I say, it's so well made.
Yeah.
It will just give you a lifetime of a really fantastic service.
Right.
Very, very nice instrument.
A ringing endorsement for the Yamaha there, but come into the shop and see what you think, because it might be different. Like and subscribe our videos. Thanks to Sam in the workshop, and we'll see you next time.